Welcome to Two Hearts Dance and Yoga Heart to Heart series. My name is Leanne Barber, owner and movement creator at Two Hearts Dance and Yoga, and it's my pleasure to be able to bring you some light of inspiration during this time. It's my pleasure to welcome Jordan Steffy. Jordan is a fellow University of Maryland alumni, where he was a college athlete, earning his scholarship to play football and leading the Terps as quarterback. However, Jordan's leadership did not stop here. He went on to earn his MBA at Columbia University and continued to pursue his own business ventures. Jordan is the founder and CEO of Attollo, a rigorous college access and leadership program that provides mentorship, resources necessary to triumph as leaders at the students' schools and their communities. Jordan has also created a mentoring app and continues to make a difference in connecting students with the tools they need to succeed. Jordan is also a husband and a father and a true inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
That was a very generous introduction, but it's so good to be with you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm happy to have you, and it's good to see you after all these years as fellow Terp alumni here.
Yeah, go Terps.
Yes, awesome. So Jordan, it's been great to see all the things that you're doing to help students reach their goals. Has this change in time impacted your mentorship opportunities and the children that you work with?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So when you think about, the last 4 months, and with COVID-19, and then you think about the racial pandemic that we've experienced here over the last month and a half, there certainly has been added opportunities, is a very good way of putting it, for us to be present, for us to make sure that our students and our families are seen, are heard, and are supported as we kind of move through this very, very challenging time for all of us.
Absolutely, and I love everything that you're doing to help with that. So tell us a little bit about, how you were as a kid growing up.
Oh gosh. I think like most kids, right? I was curious, I was confused, I was active. And so, I grew up with a single mom, a single mom and some aunts and my grandparents. And I felt really loved and supported as a kid. And I think that in hindsight, looking back on that, that gave me the space to make a whole bunch of mistakes, to try a whole bunch of things, and through trial and error and through failure, begin to kind of find my footing. So, the other part of this, and kind of especially as we're talking about some of the times that we're in right now, as somebody who's biracial myself. Are you biracial as well? Yeah. So as somebody who's biracial, I always joke around that especially my childhood was really spent feeling like I was stuck in the middle. Or that I had mixed vision, right? So I was just exposed to a whole bunch of different people and backgrounds and thought processes and interests. And for a lot of my childhood, honestly, I just never felt like I fit in anywhere. And there was extreme discomfort in some cases. What I've learned as time's gone on is what a blessing that was, to get to know people, to get to understand people a little bit better, and hopefully to be able to bring people together, which I've, myself and my team have been able to do here within the organization. But that was a long-winded way of saying that I had an amazing childhood. That's not to say that it wasn't without adversity. That's not to say that I didn't make some really poor choices, honestly, that could have led me down a path to not be where I am today. But fortunately, because of the grace and support of so many people, it gave me an opportunity to get a scholarship to the University of Maryland, be the first person in my family to get a college degree, and ultimately put me in a position to be able to give back and contribute to community.
That's amazing. And thank you for sharing that. And, I completely understand being biracial, kind of trying to fit in and not quite sure, where you belong all the time, but just like you said, those adversities and those kind of obstacles have led you to where you are now. So thank you for commenting on that. So you talked a little bit about how you earned your scholarship to University of Maryland, and you played football at the University of Maryland. Go Terps! What led you to playing football at the college level?
It's a good question. I think I was. It's funny because I actually didn't excel at sports really until maybe I got to high school, quite frankly. But I had great mentors. I had a mentor who came into my life named Daryl Daniel, who had played college football, was in the NFL when I met him. And I think the amazing thing about Daryl is to this day is that, it was never really about football. It was about what does it take to live a life of purpose and excellence. And by way of him, being a football player, I took an interest in football, and I had a blueprint. He knew what it took from a preparation standpoint, to become a Division I athlete. And so I was able to kind of follow that blueprint. I think the other part of, for me is when I was in 8th grade, it's kind of funny that the show American Idol came out. So starting to show our age a little bit here, but American Idol came out, and I remember it was on like Monday nights. And for some strange reason, at the time, Daryl was talking to me about sacrifice, and like that sacrifice was not like giving up things that you didn't really care about. Like sacrifice meant that you were giving up things that you really cared about for this preferred future, right? And I really cared about American Idol at the time. And I made this commitment that I wasn't going to watch any American Idol. And while American Idol was on, I was going to go out and run. And it was, it's kind of silly in hindsight looking back, but it was the first time, and I was in 8th grade at this time, that I kind of had this vision, and I knew that sacrifice would be a part of me realizing the vision. And then I knew that work and was going to be a part of it. So, I think that all of these things put together positioned me well to excel in athletics in high school. I had amazing coaches. And yeah, was fortunate to have a whole bunch of scholarship offers and to come to the University of Maryland.
Awesome. Really cool. Yes, you had to sacrifice your American Idol time. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was tough.
That's awesome. So I guess you kind of said a little bit about it, but can you tell us kind of what lessons from playing football have translated into your business world today?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many that we know of, right? The teamwork element, the resiliency, the sacrifice, the discipline, and I think all of these come to mind with good reason. I also, at maybe a more of a macro level with sports and football, was what football gave me were a whole bunch of moments of truth. And whether it was in preparation, and you lift weights, and that we would have, max out days, and you would just know where you kind of were on the map. Whether it was games and you win or lose, whether it was seasons and how they went, whether it was injuries and how you responded, so there were a whole bunch of things that when I think back to what athletics meant to me, there are just so many life lessons, so many tools. And but the other thing that I think that football gave me was a mindset. And whether it's, before you ever lift a weight, you decide that you're going to lift the weight, right? Before you ever go out on the field, you decide that you're going to. And I think that is so transferable to life after sports, which is the power of our minds, and the power of thinking big. And when I decided in 8th grade that I was going to go Division I, I made that up in my mind before it ever came into fruition. And I think that what sports has done for me is taught me the power of optimism, was taught me the power of what you focus on expands. Listen, there's a lot of good things that happen on a daily basis. There's a lot of bad things, and whatever we decide to focus our attention to, tend to become more of, right? And so these were all things that I think that football specifically for me taught me, and that I've been able to apply after sports.
Very good. What a great answer. All of the different kind of facets that you talked about and how they, have translated into everything that you're doing. So that kind of leads me to talking about your business, Attollo. Tell us what that even means.
Yeah. So and by the way, like, I'm not a marketing executive, obviously, because I'm terrible at naming things. But more important than the name is the meaning.
Right.
And so what Attollo means is to rise up.
Awesome.
So I am fascinated with JFK's speech in 1964, I believe it was, about us going to the moon. And the spirit of that speech, and as you recall, kind of the rocket ship that we went to the moon in was Apollo, right? So Apollo means to prophesy or look ahead in Latin, and Attollo, which is the name of our program, means to lift up or rise up. So the spirit of us deciding to go to the moon as a nation in 1969 was this idea that we weren't going to innovate or create things for the sake of just surviving. Up until that point, when people invented things, when people created things, and I think right now as we think about COVID, how many things were created, how many things were enhanced out of this crisis. But what the Apollo mission was not about crisis. We didn't have to go to the moon at that time. It was a choice. It was a choice that as a nation, we were going to innovate and lead, not out of survival, but with this mindset of what it means to thrive. And so it was in that same spirit that we created Attollo, which is that this program is not a program that is meant to, work and operate in crisis. This is a program that we're building an aspirational brand about what can be. This is about young people, a lot of which are Black and brown, but a lot of which who aren't, who are making a commitment to be success-oriented, who are making a commitment to living for themselves, but also living for their community. And so that's kind of the spirit of what Attollo is, and then and why we exist. And then what it is straightforward. We work with juniors and seniors in high school as they think about life after high school. And we want young people to go, whether it's to a 4-year college or to serve our country or to join the workforce, we want them to go in a way in which they follow their first purpose, that they've been exposed to their options, that they have access to what they want to do and how they can live on purpose. And then that they go with these leadership qualities and understanding the importance of not only just taking care of themselves, but taking care of the people around them. And so that's kind of what we do as an organization.
Wonderful. And thanks for breaking it down to us from, the very beginning and telling us all the things that, kind of led up to its, formation.
The most, in my opinion, profound things that I've ever heard was somebody who said to me, Jordan, you should teach something shortly after you learned it while you still remember what it's like to not know it.
Yes.
And so what I know is what it is to be the product of a community that has invested in me. What I know is what it is to have amazing mentors and friends and people who love me to success and not love me to death, people who've held me accountable to my dreams. And so because that's what I've experienced, it's been natural for myself and the amazing team that we've built at Attollo to do this for other people. And the part of it is now with 2 young kids is, in a sense, this is so self-serving. When I think about the students who come through our program, they will be my children's mentors. They will be my children's bosses. They will be the people that my children look up to and go to for advice and opportunity and access as well. So I'm just so inspired by the amazing young people that we have a chance to work with, not just because a lot of them are extremely resilient. Yes, they are. But because of all of the amazing blood, sweat, and skills that
Yeah.
they have and are investing in themselves and our community.
Yes, that's beautiful to think about. And you have such passion in what you're doing. And I love that. I love that you're thinking ahead and thinking about, the generations to come and your children who are going to be able to benefit from what you're building as well. So it's just a beautiful thing. So thank you so much for sharing that. So what were some of the early challenges you had to face with starting Attollo and or some of the challenges that you continue to face present day?
Certainly. I think building anything is tough, right? So lifting off is tough. Staying kind of in the air is tough. So there's certainly the financial element of it. We're a nonprofit. We raise money. You've been generous in the past in support, and we appreciate that, as have thousands of people. So there's the financial component that's something that's always out there. But the other thing that is tough is just constantly looking to recruit talent. And the standards that we have are so high because the work that we're doing is so important. And so we are constantly looking for talent. We're looking for the highest performing people, period. Not the highest performing people who want to work in a nonprofit, not like high performers, period. Because I've always believed, right, like winners win. So it's about talent. The other thing is the perception in the nonprofit world around paying talent. And, the thing that has always, like been mind boggling is like, the world is okay if someone who is doing something that is not benefiting this world makes a decent living. But we question, and to me, one major area is teachers, right? As a nation, we do not value teachers the way in which we need to. And I think so, and that's both in compensation. That's in just the light in which we see them, et cetera. So recruiting talent, compensating great talent has been a challenge organizationally. And then I think the other part of it is that, what we're trying to do, no one has ever been successful at its scale. And what I mean by that is, we're in large part working with first generation students, many of which who come from, challenging upbringings. And there are just such strong headwinds, period, before we ever get into the things that are top of mind right now for us as a nation, as it relates to the racism and implicit bias and all of these things that are also kind of part of the uphill climb that the young people we serve have. And so, these are things that we're reminded of, and yet somehow through it all, we remain optimistic that we're seeing, the needle move a little bit. I think a lot of things happen slower than we'd like, or not as fast as we like, but they don't take as long as we think. And so I'm just going to continue to remain optimistic that that our students, that the work that we're doing in our community will at some point we'll start to see the tide turn, and we'll build this community that is just, that does experience equality for all people, regardless of what they look like or what their parents do.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. It's important to kind of know what, the challenges are, maybe for somebody who's thinking about starting their own business or, but that really spans across a whole different level. Challenges that, kids are facing in their homes, challenges that kids are facing in their communities, and then on the level of like our nation and the greater picture. So um,
Absolutely.
for sharing all of that with us. So you have been in business since 2005.
Mhm.
You have had quite a few students come out of your program and move on to bigger things. Tell us how it feels to see your vision come to life and some of the success stories that you might want to share with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we've worked with thousands of students at this point, and it's when one student comes through and goes to college for the first time, when another one does, but at some point your conviction in this just really starts to rise, right? And you become convicted that this works. Um, and so there have been, I mean, one example that comes to mind, and as I'm in my office right now, we had a scholar, one of the first students who came through the program, for that individual to now be on staff here as a college graduate, and somebody who is now so passionate about doing this for other students, to really see this start to come full circle has been so fulfilling, and so inspiring. And sometimes I just think things that are familiar to us, we take for granted. And I don't ever want to take for granted Deontay Cherry, and the fact that he paid the price himself, and he doesn't have to do this. He's chose to come back and do this work for hundreds of other students. I think about the adversity that some of our students have been through. To think about a student in our program who is a rising senior right now, and this is a young lady who, witnessed um, one of her parents take the other parent's life and then take their own. I mean, and to think that this young lady has used this as motivation, and not as an excuse or a reason to not achieve. I mean, that is what this is all about. So, we've just had so many amazing people who have just channeled um, tough times in the right way. And so for me, it is so easy to recommit to this work frequently because you see that it's working, and you see that there are more and more people who are getting into this fight. And that not only leaves me, but should leave all of us hopeful and optimistic about our future.
Absolutely, it definitely does. And, you kind of just answered the question I was going to ask you. You're a family man, a business owner, you are involved in your community. What are the things that continue to motivate you even in the difficult times?
Oh, I I think it's just the realization that I'm living my first purpose, doing what I'm here to do. I truly believe that, and that really comes through a spirit of gratitude and knowing that, um, I've been lifted up by others. I'm lifted up by others right now, and as a result of that, I've been able to do what I love. And so, and the cool thing about doing what I love is that I get to see then really cool things play themselves out. I get to see alumni start their own businesses. I get to see alumni join the team. I get to see alumni go out in the work world and struggle, and then, find their footing and eventually catch the momentum. So there are just so many things about the work that we're doing that are, quite frankly, just inspiring in themselves, that every day, if I look and focus in the right places, and that's important. But if I look and focus in the right places, there is always something to be really excited about.
Absolutely. And we're really excited that you sat down with us today. We're super grateful to hear your journey and your story and all that you're doing. And just really thankful to, have had this time to sit down with you. So thank you on behalf of Two Hearts Dance and Yoga. We really thank you for being here, for sharing all of the things that you're doing. Where can people learn more about Attollo and more about you?
Sure, sure. So Jordan_Steffy is my Instagram and Facebook, and then at Attollo, Attollo prep is our Instagram handle for the foundation, and attolloprep.org is the website. So find me any of those places. But I'm just grateful for you, Leanne. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for the community that you're building, and just the spirit in which you're doing it, which is inclusive, which is about focusing on the right thing. So just an honor to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you. That it goes back and forth, and you continue to inspire me. Thanks so much.
Have a good one.